episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions, where we support entrepreneurs just like you with event-based marketing and sales strategies, allowing you to build your authority, your credibility, and your visibility in your industry. Now, ladies, today I have a guest that I want to share with you. Today's guest is somebody who absolutely loves supporting women and really wanting women to make more money. Thank you very much. I'm so excited for this. Now, her background is having 20 years of background in the information technology, marketing, and customer relationship, where she is converting that experience to support women in creating strong, profitable personal brands with LinkedIn and PR strategies. She is the CEO of UpLevel Media and the host of, get this, the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I love the name. Please help me welcome Karen Yankovich to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. How are you, Karen?
I'm great, Shay. Thank you so much for having me here today. I love that our messages are so aligned. I want there to be more wealthy women in the world.
Yes.
Period. The end. And whatever I need to do to get there, I'm happy to do to help make that happen.
I love it. I love it. And I love the name of your podcast and that you're getting your voice out there and supporting more and more women. Now, before we started to press play here, we chatted a little bit, and I love how you are incorporating LinkedIn and PR. So would you mind sharing with our audience, like, why would somebody that's got, maybe 20 years of experience doing something else is now coming into the world wanting to do coaching and consulting or kind of change things up? Why would they even want to focus on PR?
Yeah, because PR gives you credibility. Most of the people I'm guessing that are listening, and certainly that I work with, most of them come to me with many, many years of expertise. They've been doing this work. They're so good at what they do. But you know what? For whatever reason, and I know we're seeing a lot more of this, like, if we can call this post-pandemic, right? Or the great reshuffling, the great resignation. A lot of women just don't want to go back to the way it was before the 2019 and earlier. So they're creating their own path. They're creating their own destiny. And one of the things we learned through those times was people, the entrepreneurs of the world, had more control of their destiny than many of the employees did, right? So now what, right? You're coming to this, you've never had the title coach or consultant before. You've done the work, right? But you've never had the title. So it's a little bit of an imposter syndrome, maybe. So what we do is we focus on the relationships. Who are the people that you need to have on your calendar? I don't care how many people see your posts. I want to see who's on your calendar that are going to move the needle to the next level in your business, right? And because so many of these women that I work with in this area don't have, maybe testimonials as a coach or a consultant, or, people ask for recommendations. We may not have a lot of that yet, but what we so the credibility piece needs to be addressed. So what I like to do is build that around the PR. Like, so when we're building a LinkedIn strategy for women, part of that strategy is building relationships with the journalists that write about what you do, talk about what you do, or the podcast hosts, or the magazine writers, the newspaper writers, locally, globally, depending on what your business is, right? And when you are featured in newspapers and magazines and interviewed on podcasts, you get to borrow the credibility of the person that brought you there, right? Like, so probably some of the people listening now may have heard of me before. Many of them probably have not, right? And if I met them in the back of an Uber or at Macy's and I said, I do all this stuff, I have no credibility, right? Like, they're like, okay. But Shay, who they listened to, said, you guys need to hear what Karen's got to say. So that PR gives you that credibility, that earned media gives you credibility that helps you land the bigger contracts. Because I'm also all about, like, let's go for the bigger contracts. Let's flip the funnel. Stop worrying about the $2 things. And and start getting the bigger contracts. So if we're looking to get the bigger contracts, what are we going to do? We're going to throw their name in a Google search or a whatever search and see what comes up. If pages of media come up, gives you credibility, right? And that is completely crafted. That's something you have to craft. Like, Oprah is not going to come knocking on your door, right? You've got to go looking for that. And that's why we incorporate PR into the strategies that we teach around all of this.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that like I hadn't actually considered utilizing LinkedIn as a place to find PR, right? It's
Mhm.
like I'm looking to, connect with other business owners and people that are hosting and producing events and, that have questions around that or to find podcast guests. But I'd never thought about it from the perspective of getting PR for myself, which then would open up other doors kind of organically, right?
Right. It's exactly right. I mean, it's organically, but it's also organically organized, right? Like
Right.
we are doing this, right? Like, so,
It's
you know,
intentional.
yeah, it's intentional organic marketing, and it is, they need us. Journalists need us. You've got a podcast. You know how hard it is to find the people that really resonate with your message and that are credible, right? So sometimes we're sitting there. Sometimes have you ever like sat at the TV and you're watching people and there's like a seems like a 12-year-old that's up there talking like intelligently about something and you're just like, really? Like I know I've got so much more expertise than that person has, but they're there because they went after it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Do
So you
you
know,
do you happen to have like an example of somebody that you've
mhm.
worked with and like what kind of PR they've
Yeah.
gotten
Oh
or
my
what
God.
it's done for their business?
So many examples. But like I can give you one example of a client of mine who's a real estate agent. And as a real estate agent, there's a ton of competition, right? You throw a dart at the United States and there's 20 real estate agents within 5 miles, right? So you've got a lot of competition. What is going to make you stand out from all of the competitors around you, right? So one of the things that my client did was, of course, first thing you have to do is show up worthy of their time, right? So showed up worthy of their time with a great LinkedIn profile, and saw an article written about the housing market or something on NBC News. So, and it was on NBCnews.com. So commented on it, shared it, but the piece that a lot of people don't do is connected with the person who wrote it, right? Connected on LinkedIn and said, love this article, love when you talked about this, this, or this. I'm sharing it across my network, and tagged the person in the comments. Didn't just share the article, but tagged the writer in their comments and shared it across social media. Simply did that, but did the actual piece of connecting with the journalist, right? So, of course, I mean, you've got a podcast. Do you wake up every morning and say with people that message you saying, I love what you wrote, I'm sharing it all over the place, right? Like it doesn't happen every day.
Right.
So, of course, the journalist was, very happy to see that. And again, my client looked credible. So a week later, the journalist reached out to my client and said, hey, I'm writing another article. Can I ask you a couple questions? Turned into a full page article on NBCnews.com, just quoting my client, right? So a week later, so it didn't take a year, it didn't take 10 years, right? And what you think about this, like, all right, first of all, that's seen by 65 million people. But is that really going to bring them business? Like, I don't know if it is or isn't. But where that really becomes valuable, where that credibility is important, is when there's a listing appointment and they've got competition, right? So you go out to that listing appointment and they're talking to other people, right? So, but they drop on your dining room table while they're talking to you. Well, when I was NBC News' housing price specialist, and drop it on the table, you don't lose a deal, right? Because
Mm,
you just stood out from all of the other agents that they're interviewing, right? You
right.
just
And you
gave
had that
yourself that
as seen
credibility.
on, right, that you can
Exactly.
now
And it's
add to
legitimate.
your,
Like you didn't buy 3 minutes at 2 o'clock in the morning, you
yeah.
know? And, here's the thing, Shay, when, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, even today, if you were paying $10,000 or $20,000 a month for a publicist, what you're paying for is I'm going to actually sound really old now, but their Rolodex, right? Their database, right? We don't need that anymore. Yeah, at some point, maybe you've got the cash to invest that kind of money, and you should do that because publicists are amazing if you can, if you can budget that in. But in the meantime, build your own database, right? Build
Mm,
your own Rolodex up and start to connect with these people yourself. And again, it can be local, it could be international, depending on your business. Think about like if you are. I have another client who's in a very specific industry. And honestly, she was struggling a little bit with connecting with the right people on LinkedIn. She was looking for buyers, right? She's got a product and she wanted buyers of like, the big home goods type stores. And apparently they're just not on LinkedIn. A lot of them are on LinkedIn. So we're struggling a little bit with her strategies, but they do have tons of industry publications.
mm,
So we've shifted her strategy to get featured and get interviewed in all these local, like product based magazines. So, Entrepreneur Magazine, like Time Magazine, New York Times, all that's cool. But for her, what was really valuable was the industry specific publications. And that is how she started to get more mojo and started to build her business out more. And then she got the credibility when she went after the deals like the Macy's of the world, right? She had the credibility, not of like, I don't know that Forbes would have given her credibility. It probably would have, but it was a lot easier to get featured in some of these, the publications specific to her industry, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, and it does not take that long. It takes intention and it takes consistent action.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you bring that up because it's like I'm trying to think in my head, what would I utilize for mine? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily people are like, oh, I'm looking for an event producer. Let's find like what is a PR for me type of thing. It just seems a little different. Like, how would
Oh,
you tweak and
well, you
adjust
know,
what
you
you're
would,
looking
but
for?
I mean, I think something like this, other people's podcasts, right?
Mhm.
Get you there. So like who are the people that produce events that you want to get in front of? That's your industry. And if it's entrepreneurs, then you want to be interviewed on podcasts for entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? Talking about what an event would bring to their business, right? So again, there's a lot of people that do what you do. So if I'm producing an event and I go like, wait, I think this, let me go back. I just saw an article about this last week somewhere, where I just heard somebody interviewed on this podcast about that. They're going to come to you first, and maybe even first and last, because they
Mhm.
connected with you. Because one of the things that certainly video like this or audio does is it gives you a sense of that know, like, and trust that just a quote in a newspaper or magazine doesn't really do. So they'll get a sense of, like, I mean, listen, I know that I talk fast and I know that there's people that will listen to me and go, oh my gosh, I could never deal with that. And that's cool. They're not my people. But I've had people reach out to me. Like I can think of one person who reached out to me, and she was from New York and had moved to the West Coast, and her husband's business was on the West Coast. And she's like, we need your East Coast energy in our marketing,
Mm.
and so so they get your know, like, and trust, they get your personality, and they get to know, like, and trust before they even make that first call with you. Right. So sometimes it's the first and only call they make when you do publicity properly. And I am not really a PR expert. I am more of a relationship expert. How do you build relationships with these people, and
Yeah.
how do you become a resource for them?
Well, and if we can just maybe shift gears a little bit, you said it's like you have to have your profile and it has to be set up properly. But do you also support people in taking a look at like how to actually maybe build those relationships so you don't
Mhm.
seem spammy? Because you get in LinkedIn,
Yes.
all of
Oh my
those
gosh, yes.
messages are like, I really like
Yes.
your stuff. And you're like, really, what stuff are you actually looking at? Or is it just a copy and paste? Right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's so interesting. LinkedIn tries to deal with the spam. They really do. And I know that there's a lot of spam on LinkedIn, but I do believe that LinkedIn is certainly mine and should be yours and many other people listening's, your money tree. That's where the big opportunities are. Those people I refer to as the weeds. So if we let the weeds just get in the way of our money tree, we're losing out. We're leaving money on the table. You got to just delete, ignore, and then don't be like them, right? Don't be like them. And it's a challenge a little bit, even for me sometimes, because I love leveraging my time, right? So I'm not against AI. I'm not against some of these tools, but I am against the spamming your network, right?
Mhm.
So I look for the place, where can we find the place that we can leverage our time with some of these tools that are available to us, and still show up authentically. And at the end of the day, you can't outsource relationship building, which
Mm-mm.
is even in the programs that I run, it's meant for the person, that's building the relationships. And we work really hard to help to build ease into that, and to build very simple strategies into that, because we know that these are busy women, right? But at the same time, it kind of has to be them. You can't give it to your VA. Frankly, LinkedIn will catch that, and they'll shut you down if they see somebody logged in from New Jersey at 2 o'clock and from California at 3 o'clock. They know it wasn't you. They'll shut you down. I'm not the LinkedIn police, but anybody that takes any of the programs that I do or listens to my show or anything will know that I stand for nobody logs into my LinkedIn account but me. And now, how can I leverage that? How can I take that line, draw that line in the sand, and then leverage my time to the best of my ability? And that's what we've gotten really good at.
What would you say is like a first step for somebody that is wanting to play in the LinkedIn world and start doing some outreach and some connecting and some relationship building?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say first step is take care of your profile. But if you want to jump over that,
Yeah.
because we want to show up, because, like I had somebody in one of my, we had a call today for one of my programs, and she was like, and she's a realtor, and she wanted to get more people in her database. I get that. We all want more people on our list, right? But it's a permission-based marketing strategy, right? People have to, I want you to magnetize that, not dump people unauthorized onto your list, right? So basically, what I said was that this is another reason why I like building relationships with those podcast hosts and things like that. You're getting in front of other people's audiences, right? So, but what I also said to her is when you're emailing people, you're like one of the faceless people in their inbox. When you're, even texting and DMing is a little bit better than that. But when you have this conversation on LinkedIn, you're doing it with the strength of your LinkedIn profile. So you want to have a profile that makes people look at it and go, wow, I really need to know this person, right? So make sure that gets done first. And then, there's a lot of low hanging fruit, I'm guessing, in your network. And most people think that I'm wrong about that. They're like, oh, I know everybody in my network. There's nothing there. I would like you to look because, another one of my students just recently said, wow, when I went through my network, I was surprising how many people changed jobs. I'm like, yes, that's a conversation starter, right? So I don't want you to reach out to everyone that's changed jobs in your network. But if you know who your ideal client is and you know who you want to reach, you don't always have to go straight for the client. Maybe there's people that have an audience of people that can say, the best conversations are, here's what I do, who do you know? Right. And now they're sending people to you. So we love that. So going through your network, and then the outreach can simply be, hey, Mary, I see you changed jobs recently. Wow, that's really interesting. I'd love to hear how let's catch, we were overdue to catch up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you do that 5 times a week, you're going to put 3 of those people on your calendar, and then you can manage it from there. Do you want 10? Do you want, like, how many people do you want on your calendar? And that's just from your existing network, right? That's just from your existing network. So I bet that there's a lot of low hanging fruit in your existing network beyond. And when they see your updated, amazing, beautiful rock star LinkedIn profile, they're going to be like, wow, I forgot how great this woman is, right? I should really connect with her more. But beyond that, then take that same strategy to, all right, well, how do I want to, because eventually you'll run out, right? How do I want to build my network? There never, ever needs to be cold outreach. Never. I mean, there's Facebook groups full of people, right, that are maybe your ideal client or your ideal partners, right? And they routinely put something out there that says, hey, who wants to connect on LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say, hey, we're both members of this. There's networking organizations. There's one called JV Directory. There's another one that called the Dames. Like, there's a lot of networking organizations. The intent is networking, right? So join some organizations that you think, again, are going to move the needle. Like, you don't need to just reach out to people for the sake of reaching out to people, because I want this done in a very micro targeted way. And then reach out to a few of those people every week, right? And start filling your calendar with these people where the conversations are, here's what I do, who do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And maybe it's them. Maybe if you do your job right and you do the research right, maybe they'll go, well, hang on, maybe me. Right. So that's a possibility. But in the meantime, just consistently do this, and then do the same thing with the journalists. Right. So I would say, doing outreach, and in our world, it's 5 a week. Reach out to 5 new people a week, whether it's in your network or you're bringing new people into your network, or it's journalists. And then from there, I don't even want it to be 10. Like, if you sit down and you research 50 podcasts, which I highly recommend you do, that maybe you want to get interviewed on, only reach out to 2 or 3 a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you don't want to do is, like, because you're going to, if they start all responding to you at the same time, you're going to drop some balls, right? You want to do this, manage this really intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
so that, all right, I want to do this many podcast interviews every month, right? And if you're doing 4 a month, and maybe you could do more, then dial it up a little bit, but do it intentionally. Start small and dial it up a little bit. And this is where I feel like we all are looking for numbers, like how many followers, how many likes, how many shares, and where the money is the complete opposite. It's the deeper relationships, the deeper conversations.
Yep, exactly. Everybody wants to go, oh, I need to do all the ads and everything to get as many people as possible, when in reality, I mean, same thing for our space. I have clients that are like, oh, I want to do thousands and thousands of people in an event, when in reality, you can make the same money in really small events when it's crafted
Right.
properly and when you have the right people and you have the right offer and you have the right message, when it's all in alignment, you can
Right.
still make $500,000, $1 million with 20 people in the room, just like you could if you were having 1,000 people in the room.
That's exactly
Right?
right. That's exactly right. And it depends on how you're curating the room. And one of the things, so there was I think you'll appreciate this story. There was a networking event that I went to recently, and I recently moved back to a place in New Jersey that I had previously lived in. So I'm like, let me go back to this networking event that I used to go to. So I knew some of the women in the room. It was all women. And a lot of them were new. And they went around in a big circle asking everybody, how can we support you? And everybody said, I'm a coach, I'm looking for a coaching client. I'm a dentist, I'm looking for somebody that needs their teeth fixed. I sell pens, who wants to buy a pen? Right. And every single person said that. And when it came to me, I was like, you guys are killing me. What I want you to do is, I don't want you to not sell pens, but if you sell pens, I want you to say, I sell pens. Who do you know that has a stationery chain that needs 1,000 of my pens? Right. I'm not asking you to not do what you do. I'm asking you to flip it and think about what is the biggest opportunity for that, and ask for that, because somebody might know that person and they wouldn't think about it. They're like, I think, well, my kid might need a pen. They're not thinking about their sister-in-law who owns this chain of stationery stores, right? So you have to, it starts with our mindset around that. And again, I'm not looking for you to change what you do. I'm looking for you to take what you do and find the biggest opportunities for that, because that's where you turn that 20-person event into $1 million event, as opposed to the 1,000-person event where everybody's got to spend $2, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the mindset and mindset is a big part of the work that I do, because so many women have like their ambitions. You're at a networking event, you've got ambitions to grow your business, right? So your ambitions are here, but your energy and your is here, and it's not aligned. I need you to align your energy and your ambitions so that you can achieve those goals, right? And it starts with, again, I call it flipping the funnel. Stop worrying about selling a pen and look to see how you can sell 1,000 of them at a time.
Find those stationery stores. Yeah, I
Right.
love it. Well, Karen, you've given us so much value in the short amount of time that we've had today. If somebody is interested in connecting with you further, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah.
And
Well,
do you have a gift for us?
yeah. So I'm at Karen Yankovich across all social media. It's hard not to find me. Definitely check out my podcast, Good Girls Get Rich. We have a lot of great content there. But a lot of people, when I do these conversations, and they say, LinkedIn, like, I just don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. It's too spammy. I don't know where to be there. So we recently created an assessment tool, which you can find at linkedinquiz.com. And it's an assessment tool that helps you understand what your marketing style is, right? Some people want to talk about white papers and statistics. Other people are more story-based. Other people are more heart-centered and relationship-based, right? So based on your marketing style, like, we'll ask you a few questions, and then you'll get an assessment based on your marketing style. And what we do is we give you a couple of ideas to get started on LinkedIn. And not only things that get you started, but things to look out for. Right? Things where, because I want you to have people on your calendar, right? So if, we talk about content and you're always putting content out there, but it's not putting people on your calendar, that strategy doesn't work, right? So we talk a little bit about not just what to do, but what to watch out for. But because I know I'm so committed to the vibe you're putting out there as you're doing this and wanting you to show up in a big way, we've also created visualizations, morning visualizations, to help you step into your energy as this multiple 6 or 7 figure earning women as you're building relationships on LinkedIn. So you get all of that for free at linkedinquiz.com.
I love it. I love it. So we will definitely have the link to that in the show notes. My last question for you. What is a takeaway or a memorable note you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I would say, take what you sell the most of. Let's say it's $1,000 something, and just make it $2,000 or even $10,000, whatever, like double it or triple it, and just put a big giant post-it note on the wall and say, if I had a bigger budget, what else could I deliver to these people? Right? It's not about overcharging. It's about having a big enough budget that they get massive results, and you need less clients to hit your number. So take what you love to sell the most, what you sell the most of, right in your comfort zone, and double the price, and see what other amazing things you could offer to that same exact person for that same exact service for double the price, where they will get where success will be inevitable for them.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today, Karen. And I want to thank our audience for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all of the lessons and the resources that you've learned here today, implement them, and create even more impact in your world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.